Okay, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Apologies for coming slightly behind schedule. No matter how slight, it still isn't acceptable. Anyhow, good morning and thanks for being able to join us. We're going to continue our conversation today that we started off yesterday, looking at the amendment to the Electoral Act. It's a work in progress. It's in the National Assembly. The Senate, has reversed itself. We had the Senate spokesman yesterday, and we also had a legal practitioner. We're looking at implications. Today we're going to continue with that. It is hoped that the House of Representatives will, also be on board with the aspirations of most Nigerians, going from at least the calls that we got in. Say, this is what the people want. And the lawyer here was saying that the effort is all about doing the right thing, doing the fair thing, doing the transparent thing, as this whole matter about whether direct, whether indirect primaries. However, having a conversation on this off camera, some of the matters that the House of Representatives are going to have to be considering in, as it were, coming on board with what the Senate has done in the letters of the Lord. In other words, the technicalities, the bolts, and they will explain it to you. Liborous Oshomah, lawyer 1, social commentator. Kurtis Adagba, lawyer 2, public affairs analyst. It's important that I'm just surrounded by the law here. Now, you were saying that there are implications. We were talking about there are implications in some of the wordings of the Electoral Act. For instance, just the straightforward English, that this whole matter of transmission, for example, that where practicable is what we have right now. Where practicable, in other words, it seems to stand to good sense and reason that if it's not practicable, it's not practicable. Then there's the matter of transmitting or sending, these results.
Transmitting or transferring.
Or transmitting or transferring results. But when we were speaking with INEC, when the Commissioner, no less for information in INEC, was speaking here, he says there is no lack of capability in those regards whatsoever. And in any case, the mistake should not be made of thinking that the fact that the thing is transmitted, transferred or transmitted does not mean that there are no hard copies. There still will be hard copies. Now, guys, let me start with you, Liborous. What are the concerns that you say are legal implications that have to be, well ironed out for all of this to continue?
First and foremost, before I go into that, I would like to quickly lay foundation on why the Senate had to take this step.
They didn't have a choice. It was what we wanted.
It was inevitable. No, it was already a constitutional provision.
Okay.
So if they had, because mind you, we are talking about amendment of the Electoral Act. So if you amend the Electoral Act and that amendment is conflicting with the section of the Constitution, we all know that by virtue of Section 1, subsection 3, that amendment will be null and void. So if you look at Section 153, it listed certain federal commissions and council. And then if you now go to Section 160 of the Constitution, it says, subject to subsection 2 of this section, any of the bodies, those bodies listed, may, with the approval of the president by rule or otherwise, regulate its own procedure or confer powers and impose duties on any officer or authorities for the purpose of discharging its function, provided that in the case of INEC, that's Independent National Electoral Commissions, its powers to make its own rules or otherwise regulate its own procedure shall not be subject to the approval or control of the president. So that already gave INEC independence powers to regulate its own procedure, the way and manner it will conduct election. So I think some lawyers in the National Assembly would have drawn the attention of the Senate to that provision, so they quickly had to do a reverse. But the issue here is now is that before harmonizing, we need to also draw the attention to the wordings of the Senate version and that of the House of Rep. The House of Rep says you shall transmit when practicable, which is what should be, which is in compliance with this Section 160. But the Senate is saying you shall transfer election results. Where there is a problem is that if you remove that proviso of where practicable, a situation where it is impracticable for you to transmit and you do not transmit, the loser might go to court and say the law says that you shall, because in law, shall is compulsion. It doesn't give discretion. The law says you must transmit, and here the results were not transmitted electronically. That's a violation. And then the word transfer and transmit also, we need to take cognizance of that. It should be transmit and not transfer.
Okay, Kurtis, do you think these things, we're just listening as you lawyers like to talk about unlearned, the rest of us being unlearned, these things is English. Are they that much of a big deal? How consequential, how important are they? Or are we just splitting hairs here, haven't gotten the general lie of the ground and how we shall proceed?
Okay, so here's the situation for me. These things might not be significant now, but they will assume significance in the future, like Liborous said, because those who will lose the election will look for avenues and reasons why they will challenge the result. You also understand that we live in a country where 3 or 4, almost a few months to the end of the current tenure, some people are still in court challenging the result of the last election.
Yes.
And so if you live in such a political minefield, you are then careful on how you tiptoe around the issues. And that's why it is significant that the National Assembly, in amending the Electoral Act, should take cognizance of these issues. Because for one, if the Constitution gives INEC the power to regulate its own affairs, you then don't impose a specific duty on INEC by saying you will transmit or transfer their result by one particular means. You should have just simply said, INEC has the power to conduct election, and INEC will transmit results in a way and manner it chooses.
Okay, okay.
That way,
that particular phraseology. Yeah, because now we're looking at, it's not really, splitting hairs is not the right expression, but it's now we're bringing a microscope, a magnifying glass to it.
Look at last Saturday, for instance. Last Saturday, we couldn't make calls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't even send that to anyone.
So why are we seemingly splitting hairs here? Because, like we say in law also, when the words of a statute are clear and unambiguous, you give it the literary meaning, everyday meaning. But when the words are not clear and they're ambiguous, and that's where you now begin to look for different rules of interpretation, the golden rule, the mischief rule, and all such. So you don't want to give such latitude to anybody that would want to interpret. So make it as clear as possible, as simple to the ordinary man on the street to understand. The law, like we have said, Section 160 has already covered that feed. It has already made a provision to cover the feed. So any other law that is attempting to make law for INEC in that regard would just be superfluous. So why don't you make it as simple as, in compliance with Section 160 of the Constitution, INEC shall transmit result in the way and manner they deem fit. And then also quickly, when the NCC, made presentation, in the Senate, NCC said that that they do not have the required coverage all over the country. But if you go to their website, the same NCC, in their own website, said 95%, they have coverage in 95% spread of the country. So you now begin to look at this issue and say, why do we want to make simple matters, very complicated?
Because where there is no coverage in, the minority, areas where there is no coverage, there are alternatives. I don't know what coverage implies, but solar, whatever, we can. But you see, not just somebody, Reverend Dominic, no less, called in and said that, look, we know by implication that Reverend is a man of letters, said that you people are speaking English there. You people are confusing the issue. We know what we want. And in this particular case, it's about making it more, making it fairer. It is adjudged by some that these indirect primaries are not working. Empower every member of the party. Let him have a say. That's the desire. Against that backdrop of that desire, we're looking at some of the practicabilities or otherwise of it. How would you say
Okay, look.
Okay, before that, let me just include Benga's thought in Abuja. Good morning, Benga, in Abuja.
Good morning, Mr. Yori, and good morning,
indeed,
my brother Liborous,
good morning,
and the gentleman there.
Yes,
Kurtis.
Mr. Kurtis. Mr. Kurtis Adagba.
Okay. Yes, my attention, what my brother Liborous said, they got my attention. That NCC on their website said they cover 95%, and they went to the Senate and said that they don't cover this. That 95% is for 2G. We need 3G to transmit image and other things.
No, it's 3G. It's 3G. 95% is 3G. It's 4G that they said they have not on their website. Cross-check.
Well, I will cross-check. But let me tell you that either they have 95 or 20%. What matters most is the network, the system of INEC itself. How proof is it? The security level. Because before this election, in last election, when INEC did not even have server, PDP always claimed that INEC had server.
Benga, I'm hoping that you might have watched when we had INEC itself in studio. They have said there is no question about the capacity and capability of INEC to do as they are saying. Although Liborous also now brought up the issue that many people will know around the country, at least certainly in Lagos where we are broadcasting from, that MTN failed all of us yesterday.
No, Kurtis, yes. They failed us.
MTN failed all of us on Saturday.
Yes.
So if that was a critical assignment, the whole place would have been messed up.
That's where I'm going, because I've traveled over Nigeria. That's some places for kilometers. You will not see any of the network. Nothing at all. What do we do in that aspect? So what I'm saying is that is why technology they want to employ.
That is why we are saying where practicable.
And that's why they added the words where practicable. Sorry, sir.
Then I'm saying where practicable, how secure.
Well, okay. Thank you very much, Benga, for calling in. You've added further parameters. Let's look at it, Benga. Okay, Benga.
Well, I think they're taking us back to where we've just departed from.
Yeah.
It's like the plane has taken off, and then some people are saying they forgot their bag. Let's go back to where it took off from. Look, the reality is that even the method of transmission alone does not guarantee that the election is free, fair, and credible.
Yeah. Which is
is it just because of
is the all important point,
the optics that we have, where we tend to look at things from why they shouldn't work instead of why we should believe that they can work. So if not, we should be more concerned about other procedures for conducting this election.
True.
Because it's what you feed in that is transmitted.
Yes.
So that itself does not guarantee that what has been transmitted electronically is real and valid. You understand? But again, we put in so much emphasis on just one unit when we should be thinking about how we make our election fairer, more credible, and more successful. But having said that, you also must understand, okay, that no matter how you conduct election in this country, there are people who will still tell you that the result is not fair and free, and that the election,
even in America, Trump said it.
So I mean. He said, and he's still saying it,
and he's still saying it,
that he won the election in spite of the fact that audits across states, has shown that he lost fair and square. I mean, he believes in his mind that he won the election, so you can't change that. But I think what the National Assembly has got to do is to put forward their best foot and ensure the Nigerian public that we're doing all that is possible and in the best interest of this country to ensure that we have secured election, that the results will reflect the will of the people.
Indeed. And if we're going the way of every vote counting, party members, INEC, a lawyer made the point yesterday that one of the things he likes about the current direction is that it will free INEC up from so much liability, because INEC is involved in every primary, for instance. And so when trouble comes, INEC tends to be joined as a party. And this has its own implications, whereas it should be working more on its core function, which is organizing a free, fair election.
Yeah, free, fair elections also, if our elections are transparent, at the polls, INEC ordinarily will not be saddled with the responsibility of how political parties' candidates emerge. Mm-hmm. For me, I think that really INEC, as presently constituted, has consistently complained that they don't even have enough hands, and that's why they consistently use ad hoc staffs to conduct elections. And then the critical part of it is that those people who are trained, election management, will not be the one to handle the election on that day. You bring people from outsiders who are electoral officers, So, but the question, this issue we're talking about the issue of, mode of conducting primaries, in the political parties. For me, it is akin to the same attempt at dictating how INEC should conduct, elections.
Okay. Kurtis seems to agree with that. He was nodding. But before we continue, Moses has called in from Makurdi. Let's hear it from you, Moses. Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Please, sir, is as if Uncle Ori, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Some of you look to be an enemy of this country. Because this issue of web practicable or web practicable is the issue of the card reader. That then some state transmitted that they use the card reader, some places use. Why don't we look for a way that we can make this thing generally, and then everywhere they will transmit it. Then in that state, some people will transmit electronically, and another place some people will not transmit them. That is not fair. That is injustice.
Okay. So how about the enemy of the country part? Which one was that one?
No,
so why should you say that when practicable, when practicable, it
should
be practiced all over?
Okay.
Quickly, let me answer that question.
Okay. Thank you for calling in, Moses. It was with him, but I interrupted.
No, let him go.
Okay.
I don't mind being called names.
No,
but
we shouldn't even spend time on it.
Let's
move forward.
But the issue is, somebody talked about infrastructure, and do we agree that everywhere in Nigeria that we already have the infrastructure on ground to transmit election results electronically come 2023? If the answer is no, why then will you want to say that the election result must be transmitted electronically everywhere when you know that you don't have the backbone to support that provision? So if you do that, are you not creating another problem in areas where you are not able to transmit electronically? So let's leave the discretion for INEC. If INEC says we have the capacity, in Edo State, INEC almost transmitted election results 90%. So leave the discretion for INEC. INEC had said we have the capacity. So when you say when practicable, what that means is in the event that the network does MTN on you on the day of election.
All right.
So you give a room, you give a proviso.
We got that point. Before I can go back to Kurtis, Kissinger, no less. Kissinger, it won't be Henry.
Yeah.
It's not Henry Kissinger. Good morning, sir.
You are Henry too?
Go ahead, please. Kissinger in Edo State. Kissinger in Edo State. Oh dear. Did my joke disrupt anything? I was just joking about whether you were the one-time Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger.
But we live in a country of micromanagers.
Okay.
We give people jobs and then we don't allow them to do the jobs because we want them to listen to us and do all that we want them to do. But you're talking of a country of 200 million Nigerians with 200 million opinions on how things should be done. So you are not just going to be satisfied all the time with what our public officials will deliver. But having said that, if the law gives INEC the power to conduct election, it should be left for INEC to say, this is how we want to do it, based on our capability. And not somebody saying, because the National Assembly is saying, you must do it that way. If
whether
you can't do
it or not,
it means something is wrong somewhere. And that is also the issue of party primaries that we're talking about. Why is it the responsibility of the National Assembly to dictate to political parties how they conduct their internal affairs? Because I've said so several times.
The Secretary General of, I think, CUUP, Coalition of United Political Parties of Nigeria, had made this criticism earlier. Say, why is the National Assembly attempting to tell us how to go about our business?
Even in the course of the debate, Senator Abaribe said, political parties should be allowed. Don't forget that most of the cases we have in court challenging our elections, proceeds from the conduct of party affairs.
Yes.
INEC used to be in charge completely until the court said no. Allow the parties to decide on who their candidates will be. So it should be left for the political party to decide.
Section 223 takes care of that.
Okay, actually, there's another caller, but I don't know who the caller is. Is there a caller on the line? Mr. Maduka, good morning, sir, in the UK. Good morning.
And your colleague.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just listening to the program going on as usual. I think the problem we have, as always, is our political class do not really want us to have credible elections. Because when you talk of electronic transmission of results, we've seen what happened in the we're all happy about it.
Yeah.
Those of us outside, we are so glad. Like I said, I monitored it from my house. I saw the result before it was announced. That gladdened my heart. Now, because of this fraud that goes with our election that put them there, I'm happy finally they succumb to the pressures in the House of Assembly.
The
when
Senate.
People talk about area of coverage. The next thing that comes to my mind when people begin to talk of Nigeria is not covered. INEC, to me, I do not expect INEC to be now at this stage in this kind of responsibility, relying on things like MTN and all these other things. INEC should be able to link up with Nigerian external telecommunication office directly. Come to think of it, how is it possible that the air control towers are able to control the Nigerian air space completely? Every aircraft that enters Nigeria, no matter where it comes from, is seen, is monitored, is spoken to. It is all telecommunication equipment. I think INEC has said they have this capacity. Leave it to INEC to handle this job. My dear friend there was just saying, you give somebody a job, you still want to tell the person how to do it. It's all because our political class want to continue with their real business, which have been kept in Nigeria. I'm so glad that the House of Assembly did what they did. I will be watching, and I'll be one of those people who will mobilize Nigerians. If anybody, anywhere, not even the president, if the president fails to assent to this bill, then he has failed Nigeria completely. Because this bill is capable of healing so many wounds on Nigeria. Yeah. Particularly this issue of direct primary. You have discussed it on this your platform a number of times. Recruitment of our leaders. Before the faulty recruitment, that's how we end up with bad leadership. If we, the grassroots, can participate, if they have money, before they can bribe the whole Nigerian population, share 20,000 to all members of the party, then you're a great man.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mr. Maduka, for calling in. And the point that Mr. Maduka made about should the president fail to, that's a bit, it's in the realm of speculation. Why would the president, what has been done constitutionally in the National Assembly, there's no reason to expect the president to refuse that. The president has always been,
and even if the president refuses to grant assent to the law, if the National Assembly members are serious, they can't defy the president by voting to a third.
That's right. Yes. They can overrule. They can actually properly overrule the president.
Overrule the president by a veto-defying passage of the law.
So let's come back to this, because there's so many different arms to it. The direct primaries thing that Mr. Maduka brought up, we were talking about it yesterday as well. How that is going to work in practice. It seems straightforward enough that, look, if you're a member of the party, an issue comes up, because I'm a card-carrying member, I can vote. Is it as simple as that, or do you have to be a particular kind of member?
Let me tell you, there is an approach we have in this country, which is a one-way traffic approach. That, because it has the ability to include more people, means that it must be right. But if you have participated in the political party process, you understand better. Now, talking about the large people, that everybody can just walk in and vote, and because of that, it will make the result more credible. Does not.
Did you see what happened in Lagos?
We're going to come back and you're going to explain a bit more about this. But stay with us, please. We'll go on a short break. Stay with us. We'll continue taking your calls when we come back. Okay, welcome back, and thank you for joining us. If you've just arrived, there's still, we're now in the home stretch, but at least you can make a call. Mr. Adeyemi has been waiting for us to come back, so he's on the line. Thank you very much for holding on, sir. Go right ahead now, Mr. Adeyemi.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to your guests, Mr. Liborous and the other...
Mr. Oshomah and Mr. Adagba.
Yeah, great to speak with them. You see, the whole Nilabalu about these new laws, all these inputs that they are trying to smuggle into the Electoral Act.
And no smuggling, no smuggling. Sorry, sir, no smuggling. It's upfront. It's in the National Assembly. Transparent, open.
The National Assembly, they are working against the interests of the masses because most of them know that they are not our representatives. You understand? In a proper election where it is properly transmitted and everybody is happy with it, a lot of the people that are there will not go back. They will not win election back into that place. That is number one. So they are working against, they are working for their own interest because they know that they are not fully representing Nigerians. They are representing their personal interests. That is number one. Number two, the pain of Nigerian politics is that there is so much money in politics in Nigeria. It is only business that is thriving until we bring down the amount of money that is involved in politics. You understand? There will always be a lot of shenanigans. People will always come up with all kinds of things that are anti-masses. It is the money that is, the root cause of all of the things that we are seeing.
Okay, Mr. Adeyemi.
It's the only thriving business.
I hear you. I understand what you're saying, and thank you very much for contributing it. But that's not going to be an overnight process. But at least we're beginning it by these sort of regulations to see if we can further liberalize the field.
When I hear people talk about the role of money in our politics all the time, I tend to ask myself whether money does not play a role in politics of other countries. So, but let's ask ourselves, where do we spend the money in our politics? Is it in buying forms from political party? Do you understand? We spend money by trying to get voters to vote for our parties. Now, what is different in other climes is that, look, you are not allowed to spend your money so much in running for an election. You can spend some part of your money, but the chunk of your money will have to come from voters. Those who are supporting you. So they are the ones raising the funds for you.
And at the end of the day, you must account for it.
And once you can't raise sufficient fund to run, you drop out of the race. Because it's an indication of the support that you have. When people give you money, they're invested in the process. They'll come out to vote for you and support you. It's different when you spend all the money to run the election. So part of the way we can reduce the cost of election in this country is that, look, let voters stop demanding for money from those who are seeking for elective office.
And the only way...
sorry, Kurtis bringing this up. The other question, the other leg of this particular question is, how are political parties funded in this country? Is it funded by their members that we are now seem to be talking for, that every last member has the right, and or is somebody else funding the parties because these people are not able to?
If you look at
sorry, sir, I must interrupt, and forgive me for doing so, because Yakub has come on the line since and has been waiting. Good morning, Mr. Yakub.
Yeah, very good morning.
I have downgraded him to Mr.
My Mr. Liborous is one of my somebody that I really love most, and then I follow you up and down like a network.
Thank you.
Then Mr. Kurtis, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, you see, what National Assembly does, they did the right thing this time around, though personal opinion, because now that if you want to contest the election in this country now, I think they did another thing that direct primary for all political parties. But the only area that I have doubt is this. In terms of that direct primary, because during the last governor of Lagos State, the contest between Ambode and the other gentleman, you see, in my area here in Dokwemu, something happened. When I went to that place that the thing has happened, do you know the area boys carry bag of pure water? And then if they see you line up in particular image, they throw you a bag of pure water one by one. You dare not stay there again. Do we really have the security to police those elections when it gets started? That is another one. The second one about the INEC, if INEC says that we are ready to transmit this election by electronic transmission, who are we to say no? Who is the ordinary Nigerian citizen to say no, they can't do it? So basically what I'm trying to say in essence is this. INEC should do the needful, because there's some area in this country that you cannot even see the network. So
okay.
what is going to happen in this kind of situations?
Okay.
Are they going to...
Thank you very much for calling, for contributing, Mr. Yakub. You know, the question
Finances,
was financing the party, because it's okay to want to liberalize and let every floor member of the party have a vote. But how is it going to work in practice?
Section 225 of the Constitution, if you look through it, it says that the political party shall, at such time and in such manner as INEC may require, submit to INEC and publish a statement of its assets and liability. That section is observed in breach most times. And then when you complain, INEC will say we do not have the capacity. And that it says they shall publish. It didn't say that we shall now show everybody. So that is why the finance of our political parties are in secrecy. And so most times you hear, you know, the man who is at the helm of affairs find a way to finance the party, because we are not involved. Unlike the First Republic, where people pay their contributions, their dues, political dues, and then have a say in the party. That's on one side. Secondly,
that's not what we have currently.
No. That's
now, how many parties even know their members?
Their members.
How many members of the party contribute annual or monthly dues to the political party?
Yeah, because there's going to be an implication of the parties must have current registers.
Quickly, let me drive this home. Let me quickly drive this home. You find out that the rest of us, because it is always very easy for us to blame everybody but us. I tell people, we're talking about transmitting election results electronically. Take America that we are quick to cite, for example. In the last election, they didn't like the president. Everybody came out to say, we want to participate. But how many of us are ready? Now, we've been talking about, oh, let INEC, you know, make the process transparent. Now, the National Assembly has said, okay, INEC, you take the powers that you need. How many of us now are ready to participate in the process so that come on that day, you will actually have votes that you will transmit? Or come on that day, you will say, okay, yes, I belong to this party and I belong to that party. We always sit back and say the process is not transparent. Elections, the vote will not count. A vote that do not count, why is it that politicians are buying it? How do you buy something that will not count? So for me, let us, as much as we are calling names, INEC, let us also call ourselves. Let us come out and participate in the process. And that is the only way we can actually now have people who will come and reduce the cost of governance, who will come and make the process more transparent.
Let me bring in Ada in Jos. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning to you all. Ada, calling from Jos. Very nice topic. I must first of all commend the INEC chairman for not being, in the conspiracy of saying that they don't have the capacity to transfer or transmit results electronically. The day I listened to INEC chairman, I listened to INEC, they talked about this and said, the way they talked about it, I don't think it's even a big deal, because it's like snapping. And then if they move out to a place or what, they think it transfers or what, transmit. And then they still have the hard copy. That's the way they explained it.
That's it.
So then the people are thinking that if you go there, you press a button, it will be, translating one by one. It's not like that. We haven't got to that stage yet. Then when we got to, what I'm trying to say here is that we're talking about, they say we have 3G now or whatever. What of the 5G they talked about? Why can't we be optimistic, and make it work? I can have a backup, do all those things which they have guaranteed, I think for me, the problem now is not even that transmission. The problem now is that Electoral Act should be amended in such a way that they should remove clauses of that people, politicians can defect from a party when there's crisis. Let them defect when they would like to defect, whether there's peace or whether there's crisis. But let them make sure that they are not allowed to take up any position until they spend 2 years. That will put that in check, because that's becoming crazy. Look at what happened in Anambra State. Deputy governor defecting just a few days to the time. Can you imagine? What is that supposed to mean?
Okay.
Then, apart from that again, INEC should not be dragged into this court judgments about, who becomes the flag bearer.
Because INEC is always joined as a party in these matters.
Let's not join INEC again. Let's remove INEC so that any party that's not able to reach a consensus on an agreement or whatever, who becomes the party, flag bearer or whatever in primary, they should not even ask. INEC should not be made to listen to them. When the time expires, they disqualify them. As simple as that.
Okay, thank you very much, Ada. Thank you very much, Ada, calling in from Jos, as always, on that whole matter. The whole matter about bona fide financial members of the party. You know, how many of those do we have in our parties up and down the land?
Look, let me use myself as an example. I carry the membership card of a political party, and I've done so for the last 6 years. Nobody from the party has contacted me one day about the need to pay dues. So how do we sustain the party financially? What we have is some big political guys who are running the party, bringing in billions and all that. And that's why because we're running a gated community democracy in Nigeria. You know?
I like that.
Yes.
A gated community democracy.
Instead of an integrated community where everybody have access. So when the process to nominate candidates come, the big guys who bring in the billions will come and tell the party leaders, these are the people we want. And they have to look. So the idea that
if you make it open, make it secret.
Once the primaries are direct, you have everybody voting. It's when you find your name on the party register as the member that you can even vote.
That is where, I mentioned that a few minutes ago. So the implication of all of this is that there must be current registers.
That is why
the durability or otherwise of that remains to be seen.
That's why the path we are towing now is better for us. If INEC the caller from England said, I monitored a Edo election. A lot of people, I know a lot of Nigerians in America who registered on INEC platform. What is this process? INEC had said it's a process they call ZPAD. That process, once the results are counted, the ballots are counted at the polling unit and result is entered. All you just need is like sending WhatsApp. You send WhatsApp with 2G, 3G. You just take a picture of it and then you upload straight. And once you upload, those people that are registered on INEC website will see the result. Oh, this polling unit, this is the result. Because usually where the results are manipulated is between that polling unit and collation center. So once that is happening, it becomes easy. If the political party let them feed, anyhow candidate. When that candidate get to the polls, if the people reject such candidate, the political party next time will sit up. And that will also now enhance transparency in the process, because it is the general election that will enhance transparency in the process. If we participate in the general election,
even as Kurtis was, advising that it's a gated community democracy.
Yes,
it's not
everybody at the political party level, it's gated.
Yes.
But
all these efforts are supposed to.
At the general election level, we gated it. Okay. Those of us who are supposed to be voters, we gated it.
Okay, Leonard in Abuja, good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning, all.
Oh, yeah, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, very interesting. Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, a very interesting topic indeed. But like I've always said, I said this thing 10 years ago, I said this thing 20 years ago. Our leadership recruitment process is flawed. No matter what we do, if the process that we use to select our leaders is not looked into, whatever we do, we put in the wrong people. Whatever INEC does, whatever any political party does, is not going to help us. We have to look into our leadership recruitment process. It is very vital. People, we get the kind of, we get the government that we want, you understand? If we put the wrong people in the wrong places, who do we blame? This is the time now for us to look into our leadership recruitment process and then do something about it.
Okay.
As long as it is the way it is today, nothing will change.
Okay, thank you very much for calling in. And it's a very, very big subject matter that you brought up. Because Kurtis was relating in part to it when he was explaining how in spite of the best efforts or the intention, and the lawyers like to use the word intendment of this particular, clause, he's explained that, look, how responsible, he has a card of a political party. Nobody has asked him.
In 6 years plus.
So clearly the funding for his party doesn't depend on him and other members like him.
We don't matter.
So this is
we only need to cast votes for the political party. We have no part in decision making.
Which goes to part of what Leonard was saying is not.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Majority of people who criticize the process are not even card carrying members. I've always said to people, if we have 3 major political parties and their process for recruiting leaders produces monkey, baboon, and gorilla,
jackass,
they are all the same category. We are left with no option than to vote for one of them. So
which goes back again to what Leonard was just saying.
We also need to get involved in the political party process and how leaders emerge, and not allow some individuals who are money bags to hijack that process. This is exactly what is going on.
So what are now brings me? I'm sorry, sir. It should bring us to the point of what exactly are we in those political parties for? Do we take care of our responsibility?
Where do we
of
start?
Membership?
Where do we start from? The process
where
we should start
from. Are we ready to pay dues?
No, where we should start from. Now, because of the attitude of our electoral process, a lot of people have this apathy. I don't want to be part of it. But yet, now there is, like we always say, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We have always clamored for transparency in the recruitment process. If I would use Leonard's words, there are transparency. Transparency had been introduced to some extent. Okay, now technology. Jega introduced technology with card reader. That to some extent also gave confidence. Now there is a new added technology. Let us see. If you now participate in the process by actually going to register and vote on that day and say, look, I want to take a decision. I want to make a difference. That is the only time you can have a say.
As opposed to having the defeatist attitude of
it's not going to matter
they will always anyway. They are always
even if it is, even if it is, PSZ political party. We are the people that makes the structure. We are the people that will, make that political party win. If we all now decide, okay, these 2 parties or these two major parties are not the solution, let us all move and begin to look at the candidates. As popular as Yori Folari is, the day he decides to stand the election, the people that should vote for him will say you are good, but you won't win because you don't have structure. But these same people forget that they are the structures that Yori needs. So if now that INEC has said, look, we will transmit election electronically, we have the capacity to so do, it will elevate the process. Okay. It will enhance the process to some extent. But it is not left for us,
it's not
the rest of us.
Yes,
it is not an overnight job.
Let me tell you where the
structure building takes ages.
Yes, what I'm saying. It is not an overnight job. But quickly, sorry. Yeah. It is not an overnight job. But we will have to. You don't sit down and wait for somebody else to do it. All of us will have to be part of the process.
I was just remembering Obama's process to the presidency.
There is something
how far back he went to begin, more than 10 years ago.
If Obama were in Nigeria,
he can't win a council election.
He can't win, but no matter how the processes he went through, because the people who would vote for him would not come out.
Let me tell you something. It is also called there's something called the will of the people to make a change.
Yes.
In Cote d'Ivoire, we saw how it happened. How
in Gambia,
General Gay disqualified Alassane Ouattara and so many others that he felt would challenge and defeat him, and then allowed Laurent Gbagbo alone to be his opponent in the election. Ivorians went there, voted under heavy military presence, and voted for Laurent Gbagbo. Gay never expected it. So overnight, he quickly annulled the election, and the military said no. He was removed, and Gbagbo was brought in.
Even in Gambia.
Yes. We also saw in 2015 the attempt by the government in power to do everything possible to ensure that they win the election. Nigerians turned out and resisted, and we had a new government. The truth of the matter is that the biggest problem in our election are in the political party. Let me give you an example. In most states of the federation, all right, there are people who are at the top, and then they script everything down to the ward. You can't even be elected a ward chairman if the boss up does not want you to be there.
True.
And so on the day of party primaries, It is the list that the ward chairman, working with their boss upstairs, brings. That's why the control of the party is a key issue for politicians. They want to remove and bring in a new national chairman who will do their biddings. So until the will of the people can reflect, even in the parties, you know, in choosing their leaders, we will just keep bouncing up and bouncing down.
Which was the very important point that Leonard was making, that look, we're talking about all of this, but the process for our leaders, and also oftentimes I see this debate going on, it's in newspapers as well. They talk about leadership and they say, how about followership? How about followership? To what extent are you ready to be responsible and be responsive as a member, so that your votes can begin to count and you can begin to have a say? At the moment, it seems to me that the people, it's not the people, it's not we the people that are funding the parties. In between the big wigs, the deep pockets, the governors, and you know, he who pays the piper wants to at least dictate part of the tune.
Must not want to. He who pays the piper will want to dictate the tune.
Look at what is happening in Edo. The governor is now locked in a battle for survival with his party. The party he was elected on. So,
well, in any case, what we did was, when we brought this whole matter up again, we wanted to, we knew that we were jam-packed yesterday. We wanted to give a few more people the opportunity to, you know, call in and give us their opinions. And I think we succeeded largely in that. It's a matter that's not going to go away, because we're going to keep on, you know, we're going to keep on at it. And as there are, for instance, we still need to report when the time comes on the National Assembly, I mean the House of Reps.
Let me give you an example.
Sure.
Why would the why would the political party that existed in a state with its structure in place suddenly collapse its own structure into that of the structure of a governor who is coming from another political party? And you expect that all the people who had worked and sustained the party overnight will just fizzle out for the governor's men to take over. So how do you run political party that way?
Because
that reminds me of something of a situation in Kwara. There's something like that going on in Kwara.
Even in Oshun.
Yes.
Because the people, you see, at the election, the people came out and said, no, we want to reject godfatherism. But after the election, they all went back home to sit and left powers in the hands of one man to say, do as you will.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for the insights you bring into the subject.
I think you already should run for governor.
You guys leave me
if you are ready to follow.
We'll leave the money for you.
If you are ready to follow.
Will you follow?
That's the thing. I will follow.
I will follow.
How many are ready to follow?
I will nominate a much younger man. I will take someone like Mark Okoche.
Okay.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
You've just been elected as the president of foreigners in Nigeria.
Okay, guys. So thank you very much for coming on, Liborous Oshomah and Kurtis Adagba. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And also thank you out there for calling in and contributing, from Mr. Maduka calling in from the UK and all those other places. Thank you very much all. That's our program today. We'll see you not tomorrow because we don't do weekends, but on Monday with a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Do have a great weekend. Bye-bye for now.